A Finance Committee meeting to order on Thursday this time, November 14th at 7 o'clock. We have two items on the agenda, and I would like to just discuss one additional item after we finish these two, but that'll be quick. First one is a transfer request. It's order number 19-100-7844. It's a letter from the mayor dated October 28th. It's the funding of the firefighter contract. Dear City Council, thank you for your consideration in suspending the rules to move on this transfer request. Please find enclosed for your review a transfer request in the amount of $322,873.25, which moves funds from the various Marlborough Fire Department accounts to fund contract provisions within the Memorandum of Agreement between the City of Marlborough and the local 1714 International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO CLC, for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2021. This new contract is mutually beneficial to both sides and keeps with previous agreements reached with other unions. This contract calls for a 6.5% cost of living increase over the term of the contract at 2% for fiscal year 2019, 2.5% for fiscal year 2020, and 2% for fiscal year 2021. I've enclosed a transfer request totaling $322,873.25. Some of the highlights of this contract are mandatory drug testing and light duty for injured employees. I wish to thank William Taylor and the entire executive committee of the International Association of Firefighters Local 1714 for their willingness to work with the city in reaching a new agreement. Thank you for your consideration, and do not hesitate to let me know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Mayor Arthur G. Vigil. So, councilors, what we have before us is the funding for the firefighter contract. So again, we don't have any say in the contract. We can always question the mayor if you do have any questions, but this is purely a funding mechanism. It's in line with the other contracts that we have approved in the last year and a half. The only contract that's outstanding on the city side that I'm aware of is the clerical workers, SEU, I forget what their name is, but it's the clerical worker contract, and I know that they're working with the mayor's office to come to an agreement. So we're doing good, and so this one here takes money from reserve for salaries and funds the various line items, whether it's salary, holiday pay, sick leave pay, overtime. And it's funding for 2 years. Because you ask yourself, why is this one more than what you saw prior to June 30th of last year? Those were just funding fiscal year 19. This one's funding both fiscal years 19 and 20. The comptroller and the mayor's executive aide is here. If we have any questions, it seems pretty straightforward. I'll entertain any questions, and if we need to have them come up, they'll answer them. Any questions or comments from the committee members? Everybody's pretty good? Entertain a motion to approve the transfer?
Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded to approve the transfer of $322,873.25 to fund the firefighter contract for fiscal years 19 and 20. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4 is approved 4-0.
Mr. Chair?
Council Oram.
The mayor had requested a suspension so we could hear this at our last meeting. I was curious if we want to suggest a suspension at the next meeting to approve.
No, that's a great point, Council Oram. I mean, there's no reason holding it up. So if the councilors are okay when I report it out on Monday evening, I'll just ask for a suspension just to move the contract along. All right, thank you, Council Oram. Great point. So I'll make note that the Finance Committee approved the suspension of the rules for that. Okay, second item, order number 19-100-7818. Transfer request for the Department of Public Works. Letter from the mayor dated October 17th. Dear City Councilors, please find enclosed for your review and approval a transfer in the amount of $150,000 to fund mitigation payments for the project located at 421 Bolton Street. If approved, this transfer will move funds from the undesignated funds account into the capital outlay DPW projects account. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact Commissioner Galoni, Comptroller Donahue, or me. Sincerely, Mayor Arthur G. Vigil. So, councilors, if you recall, when we approved the branches at Marlborough, We had a mitigation, I believe that's in the package, for them to provide some funding for an easement, as well as the completion of the facilities at the Whitcomb School.
Correct.
So, Commissioner, anything you want to add to that, or?
No, we use the funding for the construction of the bathrooms and the concession stand at the Whitcomb School Field, at the Noble Field.
So this is really a book, they're keeping their promise. We went ahead and did it prior to that, so this is really just replenishing the funds in the DPW account. Comments or questions? Mr. President?
It's already constructed, so in other words, we owe on it, or?
No, what it is, it will replenish funds in the capital account.
Well, yeah, so in other words, it's just taking from one fund and putting it into another?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Council Orem?
When you look back at the traffic mitigation back on July 25th, 2017, I'm sure you remember that, John.
Absolutely.
But it's in the paperwork that you have. It mentioned traffic mitigation. Obviously, it went towards improvements at Whitcomb. As it relates to the traffic, I know the ward councilor of 6 and the 2 that were running were concerned about any concerns related to the new school and the traffic from the branches. What has been done to make sure, by moving this money somewhere else, I'm just concerned that we may need the money to mitigate any future traffic concerns with the opening of the branches and down the road, the elementary school.
I may have to ask Tom for a little assistance on this one, but there was some lanes, travel lanes added, I believe, in front of the branches. We have, Tom, engineering is currently working on designing reconstruction of Poirier Drive, and also we're having discussions about a traffic light at Poirier Drive and Bolton Street that would operate only during admission, arrival and dismissal of the schools, because we don't meet the warrants at this point to install a light from DOT, the state warrants.
I see. So that may be in the future, so that's why this funding couldn't be used at this point for that type of purpose.
So my understanding from the beginning was that the funding, in discussing with Councilor Delano, that the funding was for the construction of that concession stand and bathrooms. That was the discussions at the committee meetings. That's my belief.
That's fine. It's just the way it reads in item number 10. It sounds like it was meant for traffic mitigation at this project, but again, it sounds like you need, what was it called that the state requires before you can do
We
improvements?
need to meet warrants for the state for the number of
Warrants.
vehicles traveling on 85, install a traffic light. And we didn't meet them before, so as traffic increases, at some point we will, but I believe, I'm gonna ask Tom, I believe we can put the lights in and just have them for arrival and dismissal without meeting the warrants? Or they meet the warrants at that point, probably.
Correct, yeah, so part of the Poirier Drive reconstruction plan is the design of that signal, but that's the general idea, is that it would be during the peak pickup drop-off times. And so the branches traffic mitigation, John was correct, that involves some line stripe changes on Bolton Street, which they did.
Okay. So future funding will come probably from the school to
We have
finalize
funding,
mitigation?
the bond that was approved by the council. I forget the exact date, but there is
Supposed to
funding,
know.
there is funding available in that bond to pay
Okay,
for the improvements
that's
for
fine.
traffic.
I just didn't want to see this money moving if we needed it for the
No, we
traffic
don't need
mitigation.
it for that project,
Okay,
no.
thank you. Thank you for allowing me the questions.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On that whole thing on traffic safety and mitigation, I know that the entrance to the high school is very close to that of the entrance to the branches. Was there any thought, actually, probably go over to Tom, any thought to putting in some sort of a signal light so that when the school is letting out, that they could flip it on and signal? Have they considered that?
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about when we do the Poirier Drive, signalize that intersection, Poirier at Bolton. But the signal would be not one necessarily that would operate all the time, but maybe get actuated somehow during those peak times that you talk about, whether it's manually or through some sort of other detection system.
Yeah, I just take a look at, Mr. Milliken is out there in the middle of Bolton Street, and I worry for his life at times when the traffic is coming down the hill. And, my figure, you're gonna have 2 schools letting out, along with the new branches. I don't think we're gonna see much traffic from the branches.
Right.
No. They won't be driving. But the point is that they're gonna have to widen that, the Poria Drive. And, you know, I have concerns about the traffic flow about there. And we've had discussions about this, and I know that you're meeting with the school department to try to make a determination what you're gonna do for that. But, you know, the money is gonna be spent on, you know, we have, it's a beautiful facility that we have at the Whitcomb School now. The money is well spent on that concession stand and the toilet facilities. So I have no problem with spending that money there.
Well, in reality, it's already spent. This is just replenishing, the
Spent
branches are fulfilling their obligation.
Been spent there. Now we gotta figure out putting one out at Kelleher Field.
There you go. That's the next one.
That's the next one.
It's a little bit on this, but it's a little bit of what we were just discussing. When the time comes for that signalization, be aware of, you know, most likely school won't be in session during snowstorms, but when the traffic starts to come up the hill on Bolton Street with the first signal at the ice skating rink, you start having trouble. So if that signal wasn't shut off and school was out, hopefully that mechanical part will help that situation where that light wouldn't work if school wasn't in session. And it might be a snowstorm so that traffic can keep moving in a general pace, because once it stops, you've probably seen it. Cars get stuck there. So thank you. I know it was a little bit off the financial part, but thank you.
Any other comments or discussions? Entertain a motion.
To approve.
Motion to approve? Kristen.
Motion made and seconded to approve the $150,000 transfer to the DPW capital account, which is basically the mitigation payment from the branches. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4 is approved 4-0. I did have one item I wanted to update the councils on.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, nice job. Thank you, Tom. Last council meeting, there was an order from the mayor on a new library update. I did go and speak with Margaret at the library, and I did talk to councilors Delano and Clancy. I think the update would be more appropriate with the new councilors here. A couple reasons. They're in the process right now. I think they're meeting next week. John, is that correct, to finalize?
That is correct, Mr. Chair, on Wednesday, the 20th, yes.
So I think they'll have more money, more information available, but the points that Margaret wanted me to pass along was that the new design is still under budget, what they're projecting, which is still great news. They do plan to use the Walker Building as the temporary library. They'll use the first floor for what I call most of the access, and the second floor of the Walker Building for the items that won't be accessed as much. And that move is scheduled for the summer of 2020. So I guess what I would ask from the Finance Committee is a motion to carry this item over to the next legislative session. And that way, when the next legislation takes place, the new councils are seated, and, you know, Margaret can then come in, they'll have the drawings. And I do encourage, if anyone wants to talk to Margaret and see what they have so far, go down and see her, but I think now it's gonna be next Wednesday when they meet. After that date, they'll have more permanent information to show us. Mr. President.
Just a quick question, this goes over to John Galoney. John, the elevator at the Walker Building, are they gonna do anything to repair that so that it would be functioning when the library moves in?
Yes, the materials were shipped from California yesterday. They've been telling me this for 3 months. So the elevator will be up and running, hopefully within the next 30 days.
Yeah.
But we couldn't operate in the building without the elevator.
Correct.
We wouldn't be allowed to.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay, so I guess I'd ask, just, is the Finance Committee okay with just moving that to, I'll just report it out that we'll carry it over. Is that the proper way to do it, Karen? I can do that on the own? Don't have to have it as part of the finance? All right. Yeah, no, there's order number 7838, and that's,
At the end of the year, if there's any carryovers, you just make a motion to carry that over into the next
Okay, well, I just wanted consensus if this council's okay with the update being next year, it's mostly for the new guys. Both of you. All right, with that, so Finance Committee okay with that then? I mean, basically unanimous decision on that. I don't need a vote, I'll just. No, it's, tell me about it. Those of you planning Thanksgiving and Christmas. All right, with that, that's all I have on the agenda. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and second to adjourn. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. We are adjourned at 7:16. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.